Well, we need to know a couple of things. Number one, we need to know how the world's premier law enforcement agency managed to lose 5 months worth of text. And what's also troubling is in the text we do have, they're discussing how to avoid text being captured and secured. So what's missing is important, but also what's there is important. It is manifest bias, not just against Trump, but against his kids, against his business interests. There's a text where they hope the Trump hotel fails. That is a level of bias that you rarely see and you never see from law enforcement officers. What's also troubling to me is this text that Johnny Ratcliffe found last night about this secret society. Now, I have no clue what that means because that was not the phraseology I used, but it's the day after the election. And it's the same two people that were discussing a little bit later in the text the damage they had done with the Clinton investigation and how they could, quote, fix it and make it right.
What's out there? Today is Thursday, May 3rd, 2018. I'm Papa Bear, and this is What's Out There. My goodness, we've got problems. We've got all kinds of problems. We've got Democrats and Republicans, people in office, the three-letter agencies, and this, that, and the other. And it seems like everybody's working together to do something. And it doesn't include you, and it doesn't include me, but it includes something. And, well, I think a lot of it is just about the control. To give you an idea, I'm no fan of rap music, okay? I'm not a rap guy. But this Kanye West, this thing kind of gets to me because, I mean, I always thought, you know, the Kardashians, you know more about the Kardashians than you do what's in your own government. And that's true for a lot of people. And Kanye kind of, you know, I mean, I think of it this way. He's no politician. I'm no politician, okay? But the guy's made a statement, and he's got a lot of people thinking, which is good, because now people want to think. You know, they need to think, okay? See, he's announcing, or has announced, that he wants to think for himself. He doesn't, you know, want other people to do that for him. Well, crazy Maxine Waters, Mad Max, or I think we should call her Vaccine Waters, because I think too many vaccines will do this to you. Apparently, she thinks that Kanye talks out of turn, and he needs some assistance in thinking. Okay. What do you, I mean, where do you go with this? They're not thinking right. They're not thinking correctly. They're using their own thought processes and thinking critically, but they're not thinking correctly. Is that how it goes? All right. Let's go back to the Malheur Refuge thing, okay? We got the Malheur Refuge. You've got a congressman standing up here saying, I wish I had the quote on this. Boy, I could. He said, this is a virus, and we need to stomp out this virus. Well, this virus he's talking about is what we call liberty, okay? Liberty is not a virus. It's not a viral infection. Liberty is what's guaranteed to us by the Constitution. It is protected. It is one of our protected rights. I mean, that's what their job is, protect our liberty. But now all of a sudden it's a virus. These people have a virus that needs to be extinguished. This is why I kind of get a little frustrated with government, okay? Governor Jerry Brown in Texas, or California Governor Jerry Brown. They're calling him Governor Moonbeam, of course, for a reason, okay? But he believes in allowing illegal immigrants to invade his constituents' neighborhoods. Establish homes within them. You know, one homeless man in Sacramento naturally assumed that the government wouldn't mind if you stepped into his home, okay? Here's the deal. Guy's homeless, all right? He hears something going on, and he's thinking, well, you know, Governor Brown, he's an open door policy kind of guy. I figured the door will be unlocked. They ran over, ran inside the house. He yelled, Jerry! Oh, man. At the Sacramento Bee, he says, I was looking for the security staff, but I didn't see anybody. I thought the governor was in trouble. I thought he was in danger of being attacked by the wild animals that he'd heard, So he walked in, he yelled, Jerry. And after walking in, this guy says, Seeley is his name, so he looked around, he didn't see anyone, but he heard muffled roaring and hid in a small room or a closet. The room had a window, so he jumped out into a fenced-in yard, breaking the window in the process. He then jumped the fence, badly tearing his forearm open on a nail, he said. Wounded with blood spilling from his arm, he said he walked into the street and sought help. He said he asked multiple passers-by for help, calling 911, when after a few minutes, a couple pulled over and drove him to the hospital. He said he underwent surgery and was arrested at the hospital. Records show he was booked 2 days later, April 21st, on multiple charges, including unauthorized entry and violating probation. He was arrested by California Highway Patrol officers attached to Brown's protective detail. So, first of all, yeah, the guy's a complete nut job, all right? No doubt about it. But what he's not is a criminal, all right? When you live in a state where both your governor and practically every other elected official, publicly endorses the violation of America's core laws, how can it be that entering someone else's home is a crime? Okay? I mean, at that point, there are no laws, am I right? And of course, as long as Brown supports the alleged right of these illegal immigrants to pass America's sovereign borders, he should be equally accepting of the right of homeless vagrants to bypass the doors and windows of other entryways of his own home. Whatever, I mean, it's okay for you, right? What is it? NIMBY. Not in my backyard, right? And that's the way everything goes. Trump, I think President Trump is getting a little bit frustrated with what's going on. And that's an understatement, because I would have been past frustration at this point on my own. But he put out a tweet, and it says, a rigged system. They don't want to turn over Democrats to Congress. What are they afraid of? Why so much redacting? Why such unequal justice? Justice, in quotes. At some point, I think I will have no choice but to use the powers granted to the presidency and get involved. So, apparently, obviously, he's not been getting involved. He could have been involved long before this, but he decided not to. Aesthetics, maybe? Because there was a big enough problem. They're still fighting against this guy. Okay, it's been over a year. They're still fighting against him. He's getting things done, even amongst the obstruction and the propaganda and the lies and all that. He's still getting a lot done. He has put together a historic peace agreement, okay, that nobody could do before him. And I say nobody could do it. I don't think, I'm not a wordsmith here, so bear with me. The obstruction is just an understatement. Everything about this whole administration is just totally upside down. I've never seen anything like this before. I didn't vote for Obama. I never voted for Obama. But I never sat back and rang alarm bells. I'm the guy that shares a post, hey, this is what's going on. This is the latest legislation. And I'm watching things fall into place. I watched the NDAA and the unlawful searches and seizures, and I watched all this stuff go down. And it makes you quite frightened. With all that power, what can they do with it? And it's not what can they do, what will they do? Because I know I've got a visit here at my home. Believe me, I know they communicate, okay? You're not going to get away. They know where you are, even 6 months after you've gone, less than that. They know where you are, even if you leave no records. Okay, believe me, I know this. Okay, but it makes you wonder. And I didn't arm myself to the hilt. I didn't stockpile guns and ammunition and get ready for everybody to break down my doors and SWAT teams to come in and all that stuff. No. It's very calm. I'm not that kind of guy, all right? When they come to visit me, there's two, we sit down, we talk. We have an understanding, everything is good, we part ways, it's all hunky-dory. We know where we stand with each other. It's not about games, okay? I'm not a fluff guy. I'm the guy that gets to the point. You get to the bottom line, and you get it done. Took them an hour and a half, but hey, this is not easy, right? But anyway, back to President Trump. DOJ won't release documents, and when they do release them, they're redacted. So during an interview on Fox and Friends, he tries to stay away from the Justice Department, is what he told them. He said, but at some point I won't. He suggested the DOJ hasn't adequately scrutinized former FBI Director James Comey and others amid the focus on the Russia probe. He says, our Justice Department should be looking at that kind of stuff, not the nonsense of collusion with Russia. There is no collusion with me and Russia, and everyone knows that. And of course, we've known that for a long time. The thing is, why is the investigation being drug out? Okay, what's going on? I have some theories, but they're only theories, and I can't prove anything, so I'll touch a little bit on this. Mueller, I don't know if he's white hat or black hat. It could go either way at this point, because he's showing signs of both. So I don't know. Anyway, President Trump also said that despite his repeated promises to cooperate, Mr. Rosenstein's supervision of the Department of Justice has been sorely inadequate. And North Carolina GOP Republican Mark Meadows, the chairman of the House Freedom Caucus, said Friday, valid investigative requests from Congress have been slow-walked, stonewalled, and impeded at each step of the way under his watch. Rosenstein on Friday fired back at these lawmakers, saying that the Justice Department is not going to be extorted. Wasn't it Schumer that said you can't fight with the FBI because they have 6 ways to Sunday of getting back at you? Right? Okay. Anyway, Rosenstein says, I can tell you the people who have been making threats privately and publicly against me for some time, and I think they should understand by now the Department of Justice is not going to be extorted, Rosenstein said at a Tuesday event. We're going to do what is required by the rule of law, and any kind of threats that anybody makes are not going to affect the way we do our job. Also on Wednesday, really? When has following the law been a concern? Anyway, also on Wednesday, the president decried the latest tactics in the special counsel's Russia probe as a setup and trap after it emerged that Mueller suggested to Trump's legal team that he could subpoena the president to appear before a grand jury if he refuses an interview with the investigators. There is no collusion. It's a hoax. There is no obstruction of justice. That was a setup and a trap. What there is negotiations going on with North Korea over nuclear war, negotiations going on with China over trade deficits, negotiations with NAFTA, and much more. Witch hunt, Trump tweeted on yesterday morning. So, of course, we've known it's a witch hunt for a long time, obviously. And, of course, you've got too much power going on within the Congress and the Senate, too. I mean, how long have these people been there? Which brings me to another point. Donald Trump, again, I love this Twitter thing because he gets his message out, okay? He gets frustrated because things aren't going right, that everything is getting manipulated. The press is doing their own thing, And the White House is doing their own thing. The Congress is doing their deal. And amidst his frustration, he has no outlet. The only outlet he has is Twitter. And I really like it because it's his way of communicating with the people. Anyway, he puts in this tweet, I recently had a terrific meeting with a bipartisan group of freshman lawmakers who feel very strongly in favor of congressional term limits. I gave them my full support and endorsement for their efforts. Okay? Well, Monday isn't the first time that Trump voices support for congressional term limits. While some conservative lawmakers back the idea, the proposal has not gained traction with GOP leaders. And of course it wouldn't. People like McCain, actually McCain is out now. And yeah, McCain says, I'm done now, I can speak my mind. And thinking with all the surgery, I don't know if he had any mind left. But anyway, Trump said during the 2016 presidential campaign that he would push for a constitutional amendment to impose term limits on members of Congress. Okay? And that proposal came as part of a 5-point ethics plan that he introduced amid his pledge to drain the swamp. The thing is, you've got an ethics plan. You can't legislate ethics, especially in the halls of the White House. It can't be done. To give you a perfect example, let's go to the Boy Scouts, all right? For 108 years, the Boy Scouts of America has been a Boy Scouts thing, all right? It's been the flagship program that would take 11 to 17-year-olds, okay? Well, now all of a sudden, they're going to change their name. Yesterday, they announced his new name for the Boy Scouts program is called Scouts BSA. And the change is going to take effect next February. That's another year. So if you've got petitions, you better go ahead and throw them in now. But Chief Scout Executive Mike Serbaugh said many possibilities were considered during lengthy and incredibly fun deliberations before the new name was chosen. He said, we wanted to land on something that evokes the past but also conveys the inclusive nature of the program going forward. We're trying to find the right way to say we're here for both young men and young women. What happened to Girl Scouts? Where did the Girl Scout program go? Why is it everything has to, all the men stuff and the boy stuff has to be invaded by the feminine gender? The females. We have to have what the guys have. It's ours. What happens if the guys say, okay, you can't be Girl Scouts anymore. It's going to have to be something. All right? Still going to be GSA, the Gay Scouts of America? What's it going to be? But they always invade the Boy Scouts. And the Cub Scouts is still with the boys, all right? It's from 7 to 10-year-olds, right? That's going to keep that title. The Boy Scouts of America, of course, is a parent organization. They're going to keep their name, all right? But, of course, you've got your little divisions, and they have to appease the minority. And I say the minority. The amount of people who complain for nothing. It's like no matter what you do, someone will complain. These people are in that group, okay? They're the group we call the complainers. Anyway, and it's always the guys' groups that they're jumping into. I don't get it. Why is it? We are genetically different. Can you celebrate your genetic differences? Women bring life to this planet. A man cannot do that. But then again, a woman can't do it without the fertilization from the man. It's a partnership deal. Without one, without one or the other, there is no creation. Okay? They are creators. We are creators. We're creating new beings. We're different. Celebrate your differences. And know that there are areas that you're stronger in. I mean, being as a woman, and being as a man, we all have our strong points and our weak points. That's what makes us compatible, because we're different. We have to celebrate those differences. I'm going to get a lot of flack for that one, too. Hey, you know what? Don't forget. Comment. I did get a comment. There's a group up here called Nibiru Group, I guess. I need to find out more about them, but they are basically preparing for the SHTF scenario where you have to be self-sustaining and things like that. You know, and it's a community. That's the way things happen because people work together. We all know, again, we all have strengths and weaknesses, okay? Somebody might know something about electricity, or somebody else about gas, or someone about building, someone else about cooking and in farming, and there are so many aspects to different things that a community takes a lot of people. It takes community. This is why everything in this so-called, this nation, were to be pulled together as resources, and yeah, call it a commune or a communist thing if you want to. What this was based on was no money at all. We didn't. The whole idea was getting rid of the banks, and according to the way the bankruptcy was written up, all public debt is paid. But the thing is, they've removed you from the public. It's a shell game. But anyway, I digress. The Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, I don't get it. But then again, remember at the beginning of the show when I talked about crazy vaccine water? Too many vaccines might do that to you. Thank God President Trump created a new division within the Health and Human Services Office for civil rights. And that has the express purpose of banning mandatory vaccinations across the country. And it will ensure citizens have the right to choose their own health care. Okay? Let me read this to you. This is from your Newswire. With the establishment of the Conscience and Religious Freedom Division on Thursday, Trump has laid the groundwork to dismantle each and every vaccine mandate across the country. Big Pharma's chokehold on the nation has been released. If you don't think this new division at the Health and Human Services Office is a big deal, it's time to think again. The Conscience and Religious Freedom Division gives many different groups under a big tent under which to fight for our constitutional rights. Christians and libertarians, as well as free thinkers and people of other religious faiths, have a common interest in fighting against Big Pharma's corrupt health establishment. Mainstream media are desperate to keep this news quiet. They don't want you to know that the president is working to ensure American citizens have that right to choose their own health care. Pharmaceutical companies provide mainstream media outlets with a huge percentage of their advertising revenue. Big pharmaceutical companies actually spend far more on advertising than research. Now we're talking hundreds of billions of dollars, okay? And here's why it's such a big deal. Per the Bolin report, House Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy, a Republican from California, is one of the key figures who got this project over the line. Do you think he's unaware of the draconian mandatory vaccine law in California, which took away the religious and philosophical exemptions? This new division at HHS is a home run for all those who believe in liberty and health freedom. In a press release put out on Thursday by the HHS Office for Civil Rights, Director Roger Severino said, "Law protecting religious freedom and conscience rights are just empty words on paper if they aren't enforced. No one should be forced to choose between helping sick people and living by one's deepest moral or religious convictions. And the new division will help guarantee that victims of unlawful discrimination find justice. For too long, governments, big and small, have treated conscience claims with hostility instead of protection. But change is coming, and it begins here and now." In an article in Town Hall, House Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy was very explicit. In the past, this office sent the message, now is not the time for freedom. Well, it is time for you to conform. What a difference 1 year makes. So, Eric Hargan, he's the acting Health and Human Services Secretary. He said for too long, many of these healthcare practitioners have been bullied and discriminated against because of their religious beliefs and moral convictions, leaving many of them to wonder whether they have a future in our healthcare system. When faithful Americans are bullied out of the public square and out of public service, when bigotry is allowed, we flourish, or is allowed to flourish, we all lose. So remember, things are turning around. Things are starting to look a little better. The sun is a little brighter today, huh? Anyway, let's see. We're going to pull out of here for a moment. You're listening to What's Out There? I'm Papa Bear, and we shall be right back.
There are days that the red pill is bitter in my stomach, but I can't get it back out. I think because I have to. I speak because I have no choice. I walk through this dark age we're in with open eyes. Listen to Open Eyes on LateNightInTheMidlands.com. And together, maybe we won't stumble and fall.
The L&M Radio Network offers a chat room for you, the listener, to connect with others whom are interested in the topics and guests that the L&M Radio Network brings to you. During the live shows, the hosts will even visit the chat room and chat with you, the listener. Click on the big red Chat and Listen button at the top of the website and join us. No subscription is needed at either lnmradionetwork.com or latenightinthemidlands.com.
Why subscribe to Late Night in the Midlands, you ask? Well, I'll tell you why. Late Night in the Midlands covers everything, and through the thousands of expert guests who have joined Michael Vera on his show, come pieces of the big puzzle, which started many years ago. Michael and his guests reveal information dating back to the beginning of time. To this very moment, Michael Vera not only brings you the best guests with the best information, but Michael is not afraid to call out those who are less than honest. You see, in this day and age, we need a radio show we can count on and a radio host we can trust to expose the truth one show at a time. So become a late nighter and subscribe now. Talk radio like no other. Late Night in the Midlands, bringing the truth back to talk radio.
Do you need toner for your Epson, Hewlett-Packard, Canon, Brother, Apple, or Sharp printers? Look no further than Laser Technologies. In business for over 20 years, they offer the lowest prices on toner on the web. They can also repair your laser printers and toners fast and easy. Call their expert staff today at 561-792-9600 or email us at service@laser-technologies.com for all your toner needs. All toner is shipped nationwide. Why wait? Get the lowest prices on toner. Call or email us today.
There is a better radio show, beyond that which is known to the people. It is a radio show more informative than others, and as timeless as infinity. It is the equilibrium between light and dark, between the sheeple and the paranormal, and it is heard at the base of man's ignorance and at the summit of his knowledge. This is the radio show of imagination, a show we call The Secret Teachings.
Music by bensound.com. Not bad music. This is LateNightInTheMidlands.com, LNMRadioNetwork.com. Also, we're at TuneIn Radio, iTunes, and Paranormal Radio apps under Late Night in the Midlands, or LNM Radio Network. You can also get us at, TalkStream Live. TalkStream Live. If you miss a show, you can catch us 12 hours after the live play on TalkStream Live. And if you miss a show, you can always catch us on YouTube. Username What's Out There. Yes, we use the apostrophe in there. It's What's Out There. And you can catch all the archives there. Leave a comment if you'd like to hear something, like me to cover something or anything like that. I'll take a look at it, and you never know, I might be able to accommodate you. The Nibiru thing, I've been over that. I've done extensive research on the Nibiru deal. I'm not sure. Apparently it's a solar system within our solar system, but I'm not an astronomer. I'm not the guy that gets out there and does that thing, so I'm really not up on it. But I will look into that one a little bit deeper into the group here in Maine. Please don't forget, if you would, head over to the website, donate, click that donate button. Without you, there is no us. And on YouTube, on the YouTube channel, like, share, and subscribe, please. Everything, I mean, the more subscribers, doesn't cost you a penny. Thing is, the bigger that list gets, I just might have a chance of monetizing that. So far, no luck, but we'll see how it goes. CNN politics. You know, I normally don't, I shy away from CNN because we kind of know how they are, right? But they did do a write-up here about Trump. He says, I'll eliminate the U.S. debt by the end of the second term. And he predicts he could rid the United States of its $19 trillion debt in 2 terms as president. Eliminating the national debt, which Trump said he could accomplish over a period of 8 years, was one of the several ambitious claims Trump made in an interview with the Washington Post published on Saturday. The Republican frontrunner explained that he will govern in the similarly atypical, convention-defying manner in which he campaigned. Okay. Now, this thing is dated, 2 years ago. Okay. And 2 years, we haven't seen anything toward that yet. But I do believe that that'll happen. Student walkouts. Here's something I wanted to touch on, because remember back here when they walked out of classrooms because of the shooting at the Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida? Well, apparently, students at schools across the nation walked out of classrooms Wednesday to show support for their Second Amendment. The rallies, dubbed Stand for the Second, were started by New Mexico high schooler Will Riley to show that not every young person is on board with the gun control movement created after the Valentine's Day high school shooting in Florida. Organizers say events were scheduled in about 40 states. Students were wearing t-shirts that read Stand for the Second Walkout, or holding signs walked out of their classes at 10 a.m. local time. Riley, 18, a senior at Carlsbad High School, said he planned the events because of the nationwide student gun protests that dominated news coverage in the aftermath of the shooting at the Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida. I'm watching the news and I see they're saying we have to do something about this. We have to enact some sort of gun control legislation because this is what the kids are asking for. And I'm thinking, I'm not asking for that, Riley said. I look at my friends and I think, they're not asking for that. Riley said he wanted to give a voice to people who feel that they're being misrepresented by the media. In Michigan, about 100 students walked out of Grand Ledge High School and gathered around a flagpole in front of the school. The students held a moment of silence for police and members of the armed forces, and then were joined by members of the American Legion, VFW Post 3293, Honor Guard, led by veteran Dale Walters. This was awesome. It was a huge turnout in support of the Second Amendment, Riverhead High School in Riverhead, New York. We are for your rights, Walters told students. You guys are the next line of defense. Think about what rights we have and how you can defend them. Hunter Barnes, 16, a sophomore, believes the right to bear arms is vital to protect against those who would do harm. I believe we need weapons to protect from other weapons, said Barnes. From Montana to North Carolina and New York, photos on social media show dozens gathered outside the schools with U.S. flags, signs, and banners supporting both President Trump and the Second Amendment. So, believe me, these kids are not just sitting around, believing they're at the mercy of the media. That's not happening. They're not gonna stand for that. So, and that is good. That's a good thing. I'm kind of at a loss for words here. Sir Roger Moore has died at the age of 89. Just to kind of brief you on this one here. Roger Moore was Bond, one of the James Bonds. The Federal Election Commission has been hit with a lawsuit over ignoring a civil complaint act accusing Clinton, DNC, in election scheme, $84 million in donations improperly distributed. Supposedly. Wow. This is unbelievable. This is from Fox News. Of all the outlets out there, I guess this is kind of the better one. At least they're keeping up to date on what's going on in the Congress. But anyway, from Fox News, based on publicly available FEC records, repeatedly throughout the 2016 presidential campaign, HVF would reportedly transfer funds to his constituent political committees, which included between 34 and 40 state parties. Reads a passage from a copy of the complaint. On the very same day each of these transfers supposedly occurred, or occasionally the very next day, every single one of these state parties purportedly contributed all of those funds to the DNC. The complaint filed against the FEC said previous reports showed a series of transactions in which the HVF dispersed contributions to its state party committee members, and they would receive the funds on the same day. The HVF would also allegedly disperse funds of up to 40 state parties at the same time, and those parties would send the money back within 24 hours. One can't do that under the law, it appears. So there's a lot of stuff going down. They're not releasing any information about what's going on. There's been a lot of people dragging their heels. And, of course, now you've got, there's a lot of iffy stuff. Okay? Trump is going to have to step in at some point. I can see it happening, because what's going on now is it's a farce. It's a farce. It's a circus. You've got too many deep state people in there put into different places. It all really needs to come down. There is a plan. There's a plan that's going together to bring it down, but it's going to take a while, because something this big, an operation this big, you can't just take it out. Also, we've noticed that a lot of pedophiles have been arrested. The pedophile rings keep going down. This never happened until Trump came in. And the pedophile rings are huge, huge. They run right into Hollywood, right in with the major screen actors, And that is the kicker. That's the kicker about the whole thing. How big did this get? How widely known was it? Who was involved? And is it that these politicians get elected because they're blackmailable? I mean, they've been caught in compromising places with pictures and such, and now they're being blackmailed. It's like, hey, I've got this against you. You better be tight-lipped on this, It's like when Nixon went to Bohemian Grove. He said it was the most vile, disgusting thing he'd ever seen in his life. It was the most faggy thing, was the way he put it. And Nixon did not get along with with them at all. But then again, you've got Child Protection Services, CPS. They don't protect children. They're sending them off to places where they're either abused by pedophiles or they're being sold into slavery. Most of these kids, they're taken out of perfectly safe homes with loving parents, and they're put into a home where they're abused, and in a lot of cases they die shortly after. I don't get it. They're trafficking children. They are trafficking children. And the executive order that came out in December of last year was supposed to stop this stuff. There's a website here called medicalkidnap.com, and they write about all kinds of this stuff. Child Protection Services do not protect children. Hundreds of children murdered in CPS care. Picking up the interview at about 9-minute mark, Stefano begins to explain that there is an allegation of child abuse. Law enforcement and Child Protection Services are the two entities that get involved. According to Stefano, the social workers working in Child Protection Services across the country do not have any training to truly investigate child abuse because child abuse is a crime. Stefano encourages listeners of the program to call law enforcement, not CPS, if they encounter sexual or physical abuse of a child, because it's a crime, and CPS is not trained to handle crimes. So the minute you called CPS, you can rest assured the investigation will not be done properly. Chances are the child will not be protected. The only thing they're going to do is cover their own butts. Do you think they're going to call the cops in to figure out that they did something wrong? That's not going to happen. That's my own deal here. Anyway. Then she gives an example of Los Angeles County, where in 2013, CPS took thousands of children away from parents, and that 570 children were murdered while in the care of CPS and away from their families. 570 in 2013. Foster children bring in profits for the state. At another point in the interview, Stefano relates to California benefits financially from having children in foster care. She states that adults who are incarcerated in the penal system, on average, cost the state about $48,000 per year, or per prisoner. For children taken in foster care, however, one child can bring in up to $1 million of revenue to the state Okay? Children who need extra care are given many medical treatments, such as psychotropic drugs. Ooh, imagine that. You know that in California, 1 out of every 4 children in California's foster care is prescribed a psychiatric drug. No. Anyway, she gives one example where she encountered where a Los Angeles judge sent one mom's son to a behavioral modification camp because he was allegedly labeled defiant. He was given electroshock treatments, and these treatments were billed to the mother at a cost of $7,000 per week. Stefano stated that the mother is still making payments on these so-called treatments, while her son is now 23, and she still has 10 years left on her payment plan. To this day, she does not know where her child was sent for these so-called medical services. Los Angeles CPS turning foster children over to known sex abuse offenders. When Stone asked her who CPS was turning these children over to with such gruesome statistics, she replied that she discovered that, and what Los Angeles Times was kind enough to publish, was that 1,000 convicted sex offenders had been given a green light to CPS to become approved foster parents just in Los Angeles County. CPS putting children into sex trafficking is a huge problem. Stone and Stefano begin to discuss the child sex trafficking problem. When Stone asks Stefano if she has encountered sex trafficking among children, she replies, "We need to cover it a lot more." As an example, she mentioned a sex trafficking case with CPS in Orange County, California last year. Stefano says that of 105 sexually abused victims, that were found in this case, 65% of the victims were in foster care system under CPS control, and they were allegedly never reported missing. What we're finding now is that trafficking is a lot bigger and a lot more involved politically than we care to look at, or the media won't cover it. Everybody's afraid because there's some really big heavy hitters that are very influential that are involved. Children have been sold. There have been cases where children have been sold up to 75 times in one day. 75 times in one day. Someone has abused this child. Okay? Children are definitely a commodity. They're a commodity to make money. And then she says, last year she had a case where a lovely girl, single mom, her mom was a great Italian woman who lives in Burbank. She was having some problems with her daughter. Her daughter started hanging out with the wrong crowd. Good girl, though. She just needed to be pulled back in. So her mom calls a friend at the police department. She says, let's put a little scare in her. I want to do something. I want to make sure she's okay. He says, call Child Protective Services. Okay, I'll try it. She called CPS, and they said, we need to take her and help her out here. They put this child, gorgeous, looks like a model, 16 years old, actually 15 at the time, in this group home, okay? The mom goes to visit her. It was near the holidays. She feels like, all right, she's going to go learn her lesson. She'll never mess up again. This is, a hardcore lesson. Her daughter's gone. Her daughter and 3 other beautiful young girls. Now you have to be reminded that the gates around this group home locally are high. They're too high, and they're locked electronically. You're not getting out, and it's full of staff. While the staffer says, well, gee, we're short-staffed, and we just don't know how the gate got open, this mother daily, over 1 year, posted, she came over this woman's show. She did not stop looking for her daughter. Her daughter is home now. She found her, though, through the efforts of a combined community effort. She's still healing. She was passed on to more people. So she was so abused, she was locked up, she was a prisoner. Her and 3 others from a state-run foster group home. And how did the gates get open? It was near the holidays, and they just don't have an answer. Child Protection Services in America does not have a duty to report a child missing when the child is a ward of the state. Ooh, remember that, okay? Don't call DHS. Stefano then talks about an organization called the Humanitarian Alliance and a report that they have found within 48 hours after a child is aged out of the foster care system because they have become 18 and have left their foster homes. 65 to 70% of them are captured into human trafficking syndicates. Stefano believes that the only way this can happen is because those inside the foster care system are helping to arrange it to happen for a fee. Okay? This is what's going on. She also stated that we're finding now that this trafficking is a lot bigger. It's a lot more involved politically than we care to look at, or the media won't cover. Everybody's afraid because there's some really big heavy hitters that are very influential that are involved. And I'll tell you, when it comes down to, who's going to make the dollar, who's going to get it, that's where you're at. Everybody's out for the dollar. If they're making $1 million a pop on these kids and more for the ones that, need what extra care, because they're whacking them up with psychotropic drugs and things like that. Unbelievable. Dollar Tree, I want you to be careful if you shop at Dollar Tree. 81% of Dollar Tree products are tested positive for toxic chemicals that are linked to cancer, learning disabilities, and serious illnesses. So be careful when you buy things from Dollar Tree. A lot of stuff is treated by chemicals, okay? A report from the Campaign for Healthier Solutions titled "A Day Late on a Dollar Short," discount retailers are falling behind on safer chemicals, revealed some serious concerns about the safety of the products that were being sold, testing 164 products from a variety of different discount retailers across 6 states. The report reveals that more than 81% of these products contained at least one hazardous chemical at a rate that exceeded the levels of concern as outlined by the government, with 49% containing 2 or more hazardous chemicals at these levels. So the report stated that the largest dollar store chains are in a unique position to benefit the health and welfare of many communities of color and low-income communities where they operate, and grow and benefit from their own businesses by providing them safe products. What has been missing in the discount retailer sector so far, with the exception of a few important but limited actions, has been sustained focus on the issue at the top corporate leadership level and broad corporate policies to identify and phase out harmful chemicals across supply chains. So these chemicals were tested for polyvinyl chloride plastic, or PVC, toxic metals, and things like that. So, yeah, you know, even in your new cars, the stuff they treat the upholstery with, that stuff is harmful too. It's all these chemicals and stuff, and they preservatives they put in your food. They call them preservatives. I don't know. Anyway, apparently, according to commondreams.com, seems to be a bias against, I don't know, Democrats? A majority of Democratic voters, led by black, brown, and female Democrats, told pollsters in a recent study they supported movements within the Democratic Party to take it even further to the left and oppose the current Democratic leaders. A new study by Data for Progress shows that the Democratic Party's base has moved left, and that voters overall are ready for unabashed progressive politicians. What are they talking about? Are they talking about like a portion of the country that wants to go, I don't know, communist or a socialist? Or, I mean, you know, we've learned nothing from history, nothing at all, okay? And I do want to stress the fact that, yes, we have freedoms, okay, and with those freedoms come responsibilities. And we also have to realize that we, as individuals, have certain rights. But those rights that we have do not include infringing on the rights of someone else. For example, if you say you have a right to health care, if you believe that you have the right to a service provided by someone else, you're hallucinating. You have a right to whatever you can help yourself to without harming someone else. Anything that requires the service of another is not a right. It's a privilege. Remember that. And the difference between a right and a privilege is very basic. You can take away a privilege. Okay? You can stop that. But when you realize it's a right and you stand up for it, you'll also realize that when that cop pulls you over, it's a civil offense. And when you call them and you say, hey, can you help me out with my neighbor here? We got a problem. He'll say, no, I'm sorry. This is civil and we have no jurisdiction. Think about that. This is what's out there. I'm Papa Bear. You're listening to L&M Radio Network, Late Night in the Midlands. 101.3, 101.7, 101.7, I'm sorry, WCET, Columbia Talk. I'm not doing too good today. This is the end of it. Anyway, I'm Papa Bear, and that, my friends, is what's out there. Come on, what's out there?
Well, we need to know a couple of things. Number one, we need to know how the world's premier law enforcement agency managed to lose 5 months worth of texts. And what's also troubling is in the text we do have, they're discussing how to avoid texts being captured and secured. So what's missing is important, but also what's there is important. It is manifest bias, not just against Trump, but against his kids, against his business interests. There's a text where they hope the Trump hotel fails. That is a level of bias that you rarely see and you never see from law enforcement officers. What's also troubling to me is this text that Johnny Ratcliffe found last night about this secret society. Now, I have no clue what that means because that was not the phraseology I used, but it's the day after the election, and it's the same two people that were discussing a little bit later in the text the damage they had done with the Clinton investigation and how they could, quote, fix it and make it right.
What's out there?